Hey viewers, welcome to AdvoTalks Courts Bulletin. I am Siraj and we are going to bring you some important legal developments that took place across India. Let's look at the top stories. Firstly, the Supreme Court of India has made a remark that India is currently facing a shortage of specialist doctors, but the seats in super specialty medical courses remain vacant. The apex court opined that a solution is needed for the same. The Supreme Court of India has questioned about the Special Marriage Act provision on objections based on patriarchy. The apex court mentioned that such provision exposes the couples to an invasion. The Supreme Court recently held that a confessional statement recorded under the Section 27 of the Indian Evidence Act should not be rejected solely on the ground that it was not recorded in the mother tongue of the accused. A plea has been filed before the Punjab and Haryana High Court seeking access to publicly available Wi-Fi when the government suspends the mobile data. Ankiti Bose, the co-founder of a Singapore-based fashion tech firm, has filed a defamation suit against Mahesh Murthy, the founder of the firm Pinstorm. Ankiti has sought a compensation of 820 crore rupees in damages in the matter of Murthy's alleged slanderous remarks in an article he wrote about her. The Supreme Court imposed a fine of 25,000 rupees to the petitioner who challenged the validity of Delhi amendment of the Bombay Public Measures Act 1948. The petitioner also sought a declaration that the Act's application led to a mistrial in the Mahatma Gandhi assassination case. The Supreme Court of India has granted bail to the comedian Munawar Farooqi in relation to the case registered against him for allegedly hurting religious sentiments. A bench of Justices B.R. Gawai and Sanjay Karol also clubbed the complaints registered against the comedian and transferred all of them to Indore of Madhya Pradesh. The Supreme Court has mentioned that the judges should not give TV interviews on cases pending before them. The apex court sought a report from the Registrar General of Calcutta High Court as to whether Justice Abhijit Gangopadhyay had taken part in a TV interview last September or not. The Bar Council of India has passed a resolution opposing the grant of legal recognition of same-sex marriages in the country. The council's chairman Manan Kumar Mishra said the resolution has been passed by the bar after holding a meeting with the representatives of all state bar councils. The Patna High Court has ordered an interim stay on proceedings against Rahul Gandhi before a Bihar court in a defamation case. It is known that Mr. Gandhi has already been convicted by a Surat court for the same remark he made at a political rally in Karnataka's Kolar in 2019. The Delhi High Court mentioned that there is no All India or a national judicial service and hence the service rendered in other states cannot be counted for the appointment of Delhi Higher Judicial Services. The court said that an officer seeking appointment of the judicial services will have to complete the prescribed eligibility criteria of the service in the feeder grade of that state. Senior advocate Saurabh Kirpal has argued in the Supreme Court that prevention of queer marriages in India and not granting them legal recognition may lead to lavender marriages between a man and a woman. A lavender marriage is one in which either or both the spouse are homosexual. It was submitted to the apex court that 12 out of the G20 countries, including the EU, have permitted same-sex marriages, and about 34 countries of the world have already recognized such marriages, further submitted that India is lagging behind. While hearing petitions seeking legal recognition of same-sex marriages, the Chief Justice of India mentioned that the Parliament has the power to legislate on marriages and divorce. He further questioned the petitioners how far the courts can go in regulating the same. In a landmark judgment, the Supreme Court of India holds that arbitration cannot be invoked when the arbitration agreement or clause is contained in an agreement or contract which is insufficiently stamped or not stamped at all. As the 50th anniversary of the landmark Kesavananda Bharati verdict approached, the Supreme Court of India unveiled a dedicated web page containing details of the arguments, written submissions, and the judgment, which introduced the concept of the basic structure of the Constitution. The Bombay High Court has directed a residential society in Mumbai to entertain complaints by the members against security guards who use sticks to scare and threaten or injure the animals. A division bench reasoned that such methods would aggravate the behavior of animals apart from inflicting cruelty on them. In a recent judgment, Supreme Court of India has held that irretrievable breakdown of a marriage should also be a ground of cruelty in Section 1311A of the Hindu Marriage Act for the dissolution of marriage. Allowing a plea by the husband, the trial court has earlier dissolved the marriage in 2009, and on appeal by the wife, the Delhi High Court set aside the trial court order in the year 2011. Setting aside a Gujarat High Court's order, the Supreme Court ruled that the allopathy doctors are capable of performing emergency duties, and the trauma care that they are able to provide cannot be performed by Ayurveda practitioners. In relation to an FIR against Mirza Moses Beg, who is an assistant professor at Indore's Government Law College, the Supreme Court of India has granted anticipatory bail to Mr. Mirza. It was alleged that Mirza promoted enmity and hatred after an alleged Hindu-phobic book was found in the library. The Supreme Court of India held that mere death of a wife under unnatural circumstances in a matrimonial home within 7 years of a marriage is insufficient to convict the husband for a dowry death under sections 304B and 498A of IPC. Thirteen men who were convicted by a special court for SCs and STs over a matter of lynching a tribal man to death has recently moved to the Kerala High Court challenging the conviction order. The accused were convicted in the lynching case to 7 years rigorous imprisonment. The Delhi High Court has recently passed an order for the Delhi government to decide a representation demanding free travel for transgender persons in the DTC buses and their recognition for the third gender on the bus tickets. The Supreme Court of India has recently granted bail to a man accused of supplying ganja seeds on the ground that the definition of ganja does not include ganja seeds under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. As defined in the Act, ganja is the flowering or the fruiting top of the cannabis plant. Nearly 10 years after 25-year-old Jia Khan was found dead at her residence, a special CBI court in Mumbai has discharged the actor Suraj Pancholi of abetting her suicide, citing a lack of evidence. Special Judge A.S. Syed pronounced 32-year-old Pancholi not guilty under IPC Section 306, observing that the evidence against him was very vague and did not show that he had any intention to cause the death of Jia Khan. The Delhi High Court recently quashed summoning orders issued against Maharashtra Navanirman Sena chief Raj Thackeray for an alleged inflammatory speech he delivered on Chhath Puja festival. The court observed that religious feelings are not so fragile to be hurt by a speech of a person. The Bar Council of Delhi has finalized a draft of the Delhi Advocates Protection Bill 2023. The bill defines the acts of violence, offenders, punishment and provides for compensation as well as police protection to advocates in situations of threats. The Supreme Court of India said that without completing the investigation of a case, a charge sheet or a prosecution complaint cannot be filed by an investigation agency. The Apex Court observed the right of default bail under Section 167(2) of the CRPC was not merely a statutory right but a fundamental right that flows from Article 21 of the Constitution of India. The National Green Tribunal has rejected an application to increase the number of vehicles allowed per day to travel to Rohtang Pass from the present 1300 limit to 5000. Earlier, the limit was imposed due to concerns over climate change and environmental damage. The Allahabad High Court has granted bail to BJP MP Kamlesh Paswan and 6 of his supporters in connection with a road rage case registered against the 7 in the year 2008. The court also stayed a 1.5-year sentence awarded to them by the MP MLA Court of Gorakhpur. The Supreme Court of India has recently ordered Gautam Navlakha, who is accused in the Bhima Koregaon case, to pay another 8 lakh rupees to the Maharashtra police as security expenses incurred during his house arrest. A former MLA Mukhtar Ansari was convicted for 10 years by the Ghazipur court in connection of kidnapping and a murder case. The Delhi High Court recently took suo motu cognizance of reports that a shelter for homeless single women in the National Capital Region is left without food supply, and the women are now being forced to beg on the streets. The court further ordered the Delhi government to continue providing food for the women. The Bombay High Court has recently allowed a shopping mall to hold ice cream festival and observed that public visits the mall not just for shopping but also for leisure and amusement. The court said that there was nothing objectionable about malls utilizing open spaces to organize such temporary festivals for the benefit of the public at large. The Supreme Court of India has commuted the death penalty imposed on a murder convict to a life imprisonment sentence on the ground that the manner in which the offence committed by him does not fall under rarest of the rare category and he does not have any criminal antecedents. Despite the direction from Supreme Court to modify the compensation for a bad haircut imposed by the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Committee, the committee maintains its earlier award of 2 crore rupees against the firm ITC. The Supreme Court of India has sought the state of Madhya Pradesh to review its decision on the matter of 75% domicile reservation in BED seats, stating that the domicile reservation should not become a wholesale reservation. Speaking at an award ceremony organized by the Business Standard, which was called for a regulatory mechanism for the new age of journalism, Justice B.V. Nagaratna mentioned that fake news could affect the democracy and that it was necessary to shun prejudice in the news reports. That's all for now. For getting more updates, press the bell icon. Do like and share the videos on our YouTube channel, AdvoTalks.